if I was going to, start fresh today as a contractor, maybe like a handyman or something, and I didn't know anything about marketing like I used to. 6 years ago, I was Googling the term marketing because I didn't know what it meant. Then I might sign up for Angi Leads or Home Advisor. And the trick is, if you're going to do this, there's a few things you have to do. Number one is you have to call people the second they come in. Like the very second you get an alert that you got somebody's phone number, you have to call them that very second. And you have to be relentless. If they don't answer, call them again, like right away. And then call them again the next day if they don't answer. And you basically need to, you either want to get a yes or a no, but you don't want to get a nothing. And even though I think, based off of what people tell me that their experience is like, and based off of what I see my clients going through, I have 2 clients that buy dozens, maybe more, dozens of leads every single month. And they both have sales teams. They both call these leads the minute they come in. And both of them say about 1 in 7 actually answers the phone, or they're actually able to reach about 1 in 7. And so that means, like, let's just say that you can reach 1 out of 7 leads that you buy, and maybe 1 out of 3 of those leads would become a job. Like, we would hope that at least you'd have at least a 33% close rate, but we'll just use that for the example. So 1 out of 7 becomes an actual conversation, and then 1 out of 3 conversations becomes a sale. That means you need to buy 21 leads to get a sale. And so number 1 is to call them right away. Number 2 is to track these things extremely closely. Like a spreadsheet works great. Every lead that comes in, you put them on a spreadsheet. You track how many times you call them. You track whether you were able to reach them, if you did an estimate for them, or if you actually went to meet them, whether they become a job, and how much money you make from that. And also how much you paid for the lead. Like, you need to track all of this stuff every single time, because after you go through this process, 10 times or for a month or whatever the period is, you want to be able to look and see, okay, I've spent $1,000 and I made $3,000 from it. Like, hopefully you'll see that. But if you see I spent $1,000 and I made $1,000 back, then that's probably not worth continuing to do for you. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of people, like, it doesn't work for people is not just their sales process, which is calling people immediately and tracking everything and stuff like that, but it just depends on where you are and how many contractors there are in your area and what your service is. If you're in an area that happens to have very few contractors buying these leads, therefore you're not competing with very many people, you might get way better results than somebody in the heart of Los Angeles who is competing with hundreds of contractors that offer the same exact thing as they do. And so those 2 situations are going to have dramatically different results. So when it comes down to it, I never tell people to just straight up avoid it. I do say that if you don't have a website and you don't have a Google My Business listing, meaning you're on Google Maps, then that is something that you should look into doing as soon as possible, because that is a reliable way to get customers coming in without having to have this super regimented sales process. People that find you through Google Maps and your website, they're coming directly to you. Their information's not being sent to multiple contractors at the same time. And chances are they've already read some of your reviews and they've looked through your website and they've vetted you a little bit. So the fact that they're getting a hold of you means that they're already leaning towards hiring you. From experience, I can clearly say that leads that come through my websites and my Google listings are 100 times easier to close into deals. It's just the way it is. So in my opinion, if you're not doing that already, then that should be your main priority. But maybe you can't afford to get that started yet. So I think it's okay to try things like Angi Leads and Angi Ads and all these different things. Just be really careful. I would not recommend signing any long-term contracts before you know how it's going to work for you. And if you're going to try it, like, you have to go all out. You need to fill out your profile completely. You need to get a handful of reviews on there, or at least have reviews on your Google listing. I always recommend putting reviews on your Google listing, because if you get all your reviews on HomeAdvisor and then you stop paying them, they own that. They own all those reviews. You don't own those. And at least with Google My Business or Google Maps, same thing. At least with that, you're not paying to have that. It's a free thing that Google provides just to get more people using their search engine. So at least it's not going to go away if you stop paying. But having some reviews is important, because then you can direct people that you talk to read your reviews. Stuff like that's super important. But I'm going off on a tangent, but the moral of the story is it's okay to try these lead reselling platforms, but you got to be diligent about calling people right away and following up. And you just have to expect that you're going to have to make 10 times as many phone calls as you will with other lead sources, like your website and referrals and stuff like that. Like, there's going to be a large portion of these leads that don't turn into jobs, and you just have to expect that. And you have to have a really good process for getting through these and figuring out quickly whether or not you should spend any more time on them. So that's just got to be built in. And I think that's where a lot of people get most frustrated, is they don't know that going in. They don't understand that they're going to have to cut through a bunch of crappy leads to get a good one. But that's just the way it is.